So I just had to talk about Song Sung Blue, a movie that came out last year, starring Hugh Jackman and Kate Hudson, and it's about it's based on a true story about two people. I don't want to call them celebrity impersonators. Instead, I'll just call them two people who are tribute artists. Now, they come together, and this movie, Song Sung Blue, is really a love story about these two people. Hugh Jackman plays a tribute artist for Neil Diamond. So, in other words, he dresses like Neil Diamond. He sings Neil Diamond songs. And Kate Hudson is she pays tribute occasionally to Patsy Cline. And anyway, they meet on this tribute circuit where you got people impersonating or paying tribute to Elvis and Buddy Holly and so forth. And however, these two people are also blue-collar folks. I mean, Hugh Jackman's character, Mike, is actually a mechanic on his, for his day job, and I think that Kate Hudson's character is a hairdresser, and her name is Claire. Again, based on a true story of these two people who came together. They have kids of their own, and they came together, and it becomes a blended family. And together, Mike and Claire they form a group called Lightning and Thunder, and Mike calls himself Lightning, and so thus Claire's nickname is Thunder, and they are together a tribute band singing Neil Diamond songs. And this is a movie I probably always was going to like because I'm a big Neil Diamond fan and I'm a person of a certain age. And this movie definitely pays homage to Neil Diamond. Clearly, this couple loves Neil Diamond. I feel like Craig Brewer, the director, must love Neil Diamond because, I mean, they sing so many Neil Diamond songs in this movie, and almost every one of them, the complete length of the original songs, really allow the performers to perform. I mean, Hugh Jackman gets to be the performer that he loves to be. If you know anything about Hugh Jackman, beyond playing Wolverine, you know that he's a singer and he's a dancer and he's done stage work, and this role is kind of perfect for him. I'm not saying he looks like Neil Diamond or that he looks like the guy, like the real life Mike, that they based this story from, but he's just perfect. Like with the hair a certain way, and the fact that he loves to perform, and the fact that he's actually an underrated actor. He just ends up being perfect for this role. And I don't know if you've already heard by now, but Kate Hudson got an awful lot of awards attention, including an Oscar nomination for her role as Claire, and she is utterly brilliant. And there's a lot of really interesting things that make this movie work. It's fun and it's entertaining. It's been called a crowd pleaser. I suppose you don't have to be a Neil Diamond fan to really appreciate the music, because from what I hear, even people who didn't count themselves as Neil Diamond fans kind of enjoyed the music. So, but it's also it's a film that really pays attention to some of the smaller moments. Well, first of all, in a film like this, which has a whole lot going on, you could forgive a film for maybe leaving the children or the actors playing the children, on the sidelines or in the background, but they are featured quite prominently in Song Sung Blue. And so Claire has two kids, a young son and a sort of a teenage daughter. The teenage daughter is played by, and I want to get this right, Ella Anderson. Not familiar with her work, never seen her before, but she ends up being quite vital to the film. All the children are important, but she becomes the most vital. Mike has a daughter, and so her name is Angie. The son's name, Claire's son's name is Dana, and Ella Anderson's character's name is Rachel. So I just want to make sure I get all that right. And immediately, Rachel and Angie come together when they first meet, and they start talking about the kind of angst that comes with living with a parent who first divorced parents, but also parents who are artists and the struggle. And initially, of course, there's always a little bit of awkwardness when it comes to step family situations. Many of us can identify with that. So, and the movie does, I think, a really good job of showing that. One of the unique things about this story is how important the bond ends up being between Hugh Jackman's Mike and Ella Anderson's Rachel. Being as that they are stepdad and stepdaughter, that's just not something you expect for that bond to grow so strong, but it really does, to the point where it becomes, I think, kind of special toward the end of the film. And that is one of the many things that makes this biopic so interesting. Little moments. There's Mike is a recovering alcoholic, and he occasionally goes to AA meetings. And they cut to an AA meeting where we just are focused on one woman as she's talking about her struggles. And that scene is so important because we see Mike's reflection as she's telling this story and how he completely identifies with what she is saying about, dreams and about, how you thought your life would go and that sort of thing. Really something we can all identify with. It's an important moment in the film. And I mean, another filmmaker could have just cut that out, but I think it's a special moment in the film. And there are other moments, like they spend a lot of time in this Thai restaurant. But this Thai restaurant is important for the story of this couple because this restaurant ends up being the platform for their comeback. Because, there's ups and downs with a couple like this who are in the entertainment industry. And look, I'm trying not to give too much away. I never like to give much away when it comes to plot. Essentially, it's the ups and downs of a couple of entertainers who love Neil Diamond's music. They're a blended family, and that has its ups and downs too. And that's all I want to tell you regarding the plot. It's over 2 hours long, like a lot of movies these days, like 2 hours and 10 minutes or 2 hours and 15, something like that. But everything's important. And yes, it takes its time, and it allows a few little moments here and there, and it allows you to hear almost an entire Neil Diamond songs as sung by Hugh Jackman and by Kate Hudson. And I just have to go back to these three special performances. Hugh Jackman, look, Kate Hudson deserved every Oscar nomination, every award nomination that she received. She's wonderful she's very natural in the performance. It's quite incredible, really. She's nailing the accent. I think they're from Wisconsin, and she's got that accent. And Hugh Jackman, again, gets to be the entertainer, he loves to be. And this is Hugh at his very best. I don't know that I've ever seen Hugh Jackman deliver a better performance, or Kate Hudson. And I just wonder, what does Hugh Jackman have to do to get award, nominations and accolades? Because you can't do much better than what he did in this film. Even the emotions. And one of the things I like about these two and the director and everything they did, there's no pride. They allow the camera to do these close-ups, and we get to see every line, every wrinkle, every crow's foot. And we get to see these middle-aged performers, warts and all. And it's beautiful. In its own way, it's beautiful. We live in a world where in Hollywood you see actors and actresses who get so much work done, they don't even look like not only do they not look like younger versions of themselves, they just don't look like themselves anymore. So it's wonderful to have a movie show these performers, warts and glory, whatever. It's great. It's great, and they're middle class people. They're portraying middle class people, and so for those of us who were raised in lower to middle class environment, their house looks familiar, their clothes look familiar, hairstyles, but the inside of the house, every room looks like a room I could have lived in back, when I was growing up. There's just something real and natural about it, despite the fact that it's about these entertainers and they go through some hard to believe things. So you've got those two great performances, but then you also have Ella Anderson. Like I say, I've never seen her before, don't know anything about her, but her presence ends up being, I think, pretty special in the film. And the connection, of course, the connection between her and Claire, or Kate Hudson, because they're mother and daughter, but the bond that ends up forming between her and Mike, and the chemistry with all three of those actors is incredible. This movie is highly entertaining. There's a reason it's called a crowd pleaser. It's fun. Just a very enjoyable film, but it's also a tearjerker. Along with the ups, you have the downs. Along with the peaks, you have the valleys. And I don't know. I feel like it's not overly sentimental about it. I think it treats every moment with respect, but it's an emotional thing. Maybe I'm just getting older and more emotional as the older I get. I will say this, I'm also a little more jaded about movies, and it's hard to satisfy me. I've had a run of luck lately. I've watched 3 really good films in a row. Revenge from a few years ago that I just reviewed recently on my channel. I just saw a week or 2 ago Project Hail Mary, which I thought was wonderful, and now Song Sung Blue. So a run of good luck, but otherwise I've been pretty negative about a lot of movies I've seen. Whether it's Mission Impossible, very disappointed with that film. Other big movies that I went and saw and I was disappointed with, or maybe I liked a film but I didn't like the third act. Song Sung Blue is the real deal. Some people might call it corny. I don't know why, except for the fact that it's, people who are dressed up like Neil Diamond and sing Neil Diamond songs. Maybe that's just inherently corny. But these are real people. The dialogue is very real too. This isn't the dialogue that's coming from a really clever screenwriter and where actors are saying things and characters are saying things that they really wouldn't say in real life. Again, this movie is It treats you, the viewer, with respect. You will have a good time, or I would hope you would have a good time. And yes, you might even get emotional. But yeah, I'm so glad I watched Song Sung Blue, and I hope you get a chance to watch it as well.